was so much younger than today. I never needed anybody's help in any way. But now these days are gone, I'm not so self-assured. Now I find I've changed my mind and opened up the doors. Help me if you can, I'm feeling down, and I do appreciate you being around. Help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please, please help me?
This is Jim Fetzer, your host right here on the Raw Deal, Studio B, Revolution Radio, this 28th day of April, 2025, joined by my co-host, Keith Rogers. That disembodied voice you will hear is that of the most popular commentator I have on the show. I frequently get requests for Keith and accolades about his comments. So we're going to begin with the first 30 minutes reviewing some of the major developments over the weekend, and there have been many. And then Keith and I are going to be discussing Project 2025, which Donald Trump asserts he's never even heard of, whereas admins seem to be playing out exactly the agenda therein specified. So stand by. Begin with the prospect of a nuclear war between India and Pakistan. Absolutely unbelievable. It's allegedly provoked by an attack by terrorists, killing 26 tourists in Kashmir. But there are those who suspect this is merely a cover story, that it has no basis, in fact, that it didn't even happen. Suspected rebels killed at least 26 people Tuesday in their picturesque tourist resort of Pahalgam in the deadliest such attack in a quarter century in Indian-administered Kashmir. A statement issued in the name of the Resistance Front, believed to be an offshoot of the Pakistani base, Lashkar-e Taiba armed group, claimed responsibility. India's Prime Minister Modi is promising to hunt the terrorists to the ends of the earth, and India's government is accusing Pakistan's government of funding and encouraging terrorism in Kashmir. This appears to be a classic false flag. What really is going on appears to be the following. Tensions between the two great nations have reached a boiling point. Never anything quite like this. Following the terror attack, and I believe it was intended to do precisely this, India immediately suspended a very important water treaty. On Wednesday, India suspended a water treaty governing the water flow of the Indus River, revoked the visa to Pakistani nationals within its borders, closed one of the only land border crossing between the two countries. Pakistan responded by closing off its airspace to Indian planes and issuing a barrage of reciprocal visa revocation. Now, this water treaty is huge because it seems the water in Pakistan derives from a source that India controls, and it appears the whole idea behind this false flag was to justify cutting off the water, which was the intent Modi had in mind from the beginning. Meanwhile, India and Pakistan near strategic standoff after the attack. Pakistan threatened to suspend its participation in all bilateral agreements with India, including the 1972 Simla Agreement, on Thursday, in a retaliatory move after India said it would suspend its own participation in the Indus Water Treaty and close the land border the day before. The Simla Agreement was a peace accord signed by the two countries a few months after Bangladesh became independent from Pakistan. In a communique issuing a meeting of the National Security Committee, Pakistan top civil military decision-making body, Pakistan warned India any disruption of its water supply would be considered an act of war, and it was prepared to respond with full force across a complete spectrum of national power. Now, bear in mind, of course, These are both nuclear nations. One has about 170 nukes, the other about 180. So it's very close. The Himalayan territory of Kashmir has been a flashpoint between the two countries since they gained independence from Britain in 1947, each country controlling parts of Kashmir but claiming it in full. Since independence, the nuclear-armed neighbors have fought 4 wars, 3 over Kashmir. Now here we have Alterna giving updates. Pakistan deploying howitzers to India. These are mobile self-propelled howitzers. Here's another. Now mortars are being fired. This afternoon, video came from Pakistan showing trainloads of 203 millimeter M110 self-propelled howitzers being brought to the border. War preparation in full swing after a terrorist attack killed 16 Indian citizens. India blamed the attack on Pakistan. The river water, of course, this is what's so important. Cutting off fresh water by closing 4 dams on the Indus River, which provides fresh water to Pakistan. Pakistan made it clear such a move would be viewed as an act of war. India did it anyway. Meanwhile, the U.S. is committed to India's side, saying a B-52 to India, reportedly loaded with nukes. Meanwhile, a senior Pakistani official threatens India with nukes. Pakistani Railway Minister Hanfi Abbasi has threatened India with a nuclear strike amid growing tension between the neighboring countries. In a televised address Sunday, Abbasi reminded India and Pakistan possesses numerous missiles, 130 nuclear warheads not for display. As I say, number appears to be 170, 180. The already acrimonious relation between the nuclear powers further soured Tuesday when several governments, did this alleged terrorist acts. Keith, go right ahead. Give me your thoughts on what's going on here in India and Pakistan. It looked to me about as serious as it could be.
Well, you can hear me, right, Jim?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, well, this is like Iran, the soft underbelly. It's India, if you know. Actually, I should say, let's jump over a couple countries to Myanmar. What's going on in Myanmar? Well, Israel's been funding that genocide over there for the longest time now, just like they funded the Rwanda one. But anyway, this is the underbelly of China. If you look on a map, you'll see what's going on. Afghanistan was the same thing. This is to divert all resources. As a matter of fact, let me read you something real fast. If I didn't screw the damn thing up, or did I just put? There we go. This is from Klaus Schwab in his book on the global reset. At least 4 billion useless eaters shall be eliminated by the year 2050 by means of limited wars, organized epidemics, fatal impacting, fast-acting rapid diseases and starvation, energy, food, water, shell. This goes on and on. This is all planned. So when you look at what's going on, it's like Iran, what you see the buildup of Iran. This is the underbelly to Russia, the underbelly to China. They're really ramping this up. And why? And of course, this comes out later in that Project 2025. And you'll see that the United States is subsidizing all of this stuff while they're killing their own small businesses. It's sickening.
Yeah. Well, do you want to add any more? What do you think is about to happen here? Modi, I gather, is very tight with Bibi.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing. When we think of all the damage that, say, quote or italics, Fukushima did, they're openly talking about nuking Iran or destroying its nuclear sources. See, so the threat is there. It's whether it's India and Pakistan or whatever like that, or name it, it's a threat. They've got to have the fear, a global nuclear war or something like that, Meanwhile, there's more at work going on here, like the massive drop of fertility rates. People aren't looking at that.
Yeah.
See? So
Yeah.
all this is part of this Project 2025 to slim down the populations, either through starvation. Like right now, what are they talking about? The global trade deal is going to cause barren shelves and stuff like that. See, this is the fear. And this is how they get you to point your finger at an enemy, China, or what, like whoever the recent enemy is going to be picked, you know. In the meantime, our savior, the United States, that's funding this entire thing by subsidizing all this banking stuff like that. They're the ones behind it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Meanwhile, we have this event in Iran, major port paralyzed, 700 injuries. Turns out, I think there may have been 50 killed anyway. Iranian state-owned news, West TV, reported at least 4 dead, 700 injured when a fuel tanker exploded for unknown reasons. In a separate report, the explosion at rocked Iran's second largest container port, located on the Strait of Hormuz, originated from containers reportedly linked to chemical ingredients for missile proponents. The state-run said the customs had blamed a stockpile of hazardous goods and chemicals stored in the port for the explosion. That does not appear to be the cause. Here we have aerial footage of the explosion. 3 locations, turn out to be more. With one of Iran's largest commercial ports paralyzed, economic disruption could be devastating for Tehran. Now, who would benefit from this? Trade disruption. This particular port handles 85% of Iran's total cargo traffic. Disruption would spark a supply chain problem for import-export, causing shortages of consumer goods, industrial equipment, food, and medicine. Iran's limited alternatives would have trouble absorbing a fraction of the volume. Oil and fuel export disruption. It's a major terminal for refined oil products. Iran already faces sanctions on crude. Losing its refined export would cut off a key source of hard currency. This intensifies Iran's already precarious foreign exchange crisis. Very, very interesting. At least 500 injured. The blast occurred on Saturday. Here's more confirmation, lots of photographs. Footage shows the moment the blast struck. Here we have a massive explosion at the port. Here we have more. Designated as a special economic zone, the Shared Raja port handles about 85% of Iran's total port cargo annual capacity, about 70 million tons, including 6 million TEUs of containerized cargo, spanned 2,400 hectares and featured 40 berths, 19 hectares of warehouses, and a crucial node for oil exports. Last month, the U.S. began deploying stealth bombers to Diego Garcia. The island, of course, is a crucial launch point. If you go back to October op-ed, the Wall Street Journal, a senior fellow at Hudson, former U.S. State Department official working on counterterrorism in the Middle East, advocating neutering the Iran regime's oil export capacity to deprive the regime of its financial lifeblood. In any event, the critical maritime choke point, such as an explosion at a major port, could spark uncertainty among energy traders and push Brent crude futures higher. There's more, too. The New York Times claims rocket fuel caused the explosion. That appears to be a subterfuge. Financial Times reported 2 ships would deliver more than a ton of sodium perchlorate to Iran from China. That would simply be an opportunity. The Financial Times specified sodium perchlorate is used to produce ammonium perchlorate, making up 70% of solid fuel for missiles. This is really good. Here's another photograph of it. A spokesman for Iran's Emergency Management Agency said a preliminary investigation showed the accident was caused by an explosion or fire. But look at this, Hal Turner. We got 4 or 5 disparate sites, each of which is crucial. It looks to me like this cannot have been the cause attributed As many of you may already be aware, an accidental fire involving a fuel tank triggered a very large explosion. A steel plant miles away has now gone up in flames, as has the Bandar Abbas electric generating station, also miles away. Again, miles away. The Persian Gulf Star Refinery is also burning. It's the largest gas condensate plant in the entire Middle East. I think this is clearly not anything that happened by any form of accident. It's clearly deliberate, and I suspect that the source is utterly different. We even had a report about Iran's largest nuclear reactor hit by 80 tons of U.S. bombs, but the video looks completely fake and phony. My suspicion is that there's a private company that controls lasers in space, that it has been hired out in the past, that it was involved in Paradise, California, Lahaina, Hawaii, Pacific Palisades in California, and now in Iran. The company's name, Maxar. Maxar. Explore, connect, protect. Keith, your thoughts?
Well, you have to realize whatever trade deals that China has with Iran, the United States is trying to block just as much as since they can't control shipping and what they call ghost ships and stuff, that the easiest way to stop any oil flow to China. Matter of fact, I should send you 2 images. But anyway, to stop oil flow to China because it's the master hub. This is what's going on. Is again, we're at the soft underbelly. Whether it's going to be what they're doing with Russia, which this war will continue on. I'm sorry, Jim. I'm trying to locate these 2 files.
No problem.
Anyway, you'll understand what I was saying here in just a second here. But anyway, what they're trying to do is they're trying to, and this is all part of this Project 2025, is they're trying to disrupt the flow of all commerce and stuff so that the United States can control everything. And they're doing it through their banking. Let me go down first. I'll send you an image of what the United States was controlling in 20,000. And then I'll send you another one of what China now controls. And this is where their big fear is globally, is because of the fact that the United States has lost total control of the world's shipping. And as far as exports, all this stuff like that, you know. And so China's the new enemy. Problem is, China in all this stuff has never, ever deployed its military anywhere. So this is all handshake deals to do commerce, where the United States for the last 25 years, or 24 basically, has been out effing off down in the Middle East and stuff, fighting Israel's wars for greater Israel and stuff like that, you know, spending trillions of dollars, of which the benefit of the public has gotten nothing. So this is,
I think,
this is what's coming here. But again, though, they depend on commerce, and this is all this Project 2025 stuff, and people just don't realize what's coming.
Let me just say, this is a brilliant attack on Iran. I mean, if you want to hobble Iran, this is a way to go. Really well done. My conjecture or speculation about a private company is also reveals the ingenuity of the arrangement. No specific government can be tracked because it's a private company. They're like mercenaries who can be hired out. It may well have been 3 independent contractors for Palisades, for Lahaina, and for Pacific Palisade, for Paradise, Lahaina, and Pacific Palisade. Those all appear to be obvious land grabs. Here, they're being adapted for military, strategic, geopolitical purposes to incapacitate Iran, whose great enemy, of course, is Israel. I thus see this as a handiwork of Bibi Netanyahu as an alternative to an overt attack where Trump has declined to join the fray. Meanwhile, Trump said Putin might have to be dealt with differently. It makes me think maybe he doesn't want to stop the war. Maybe he's just tapping me along. I don't think so, Donald. Liberal leaders had a chance to do something meaningful. What did they do? They fumbled the ball. Their lack of action in terms of working out a peace agreement, which should have been a goal, made it clear they weren't serious about ending the bloodshed. Trump has a plan. Zelensky's reluctant. Here's what Trump has written about it. No matter what deal I make with respect to Russia, Ukraine, no matter how good it is, even if it's the greatest deal ever made, the failing New York Times will speak badly of it. He's got that right. The paper, the very biased and talented writer of the time, followed his editor demand and wrote Ukraine should get back territory, including, I suppose, Crimea and other ridiculous requests in order to stop the killing worse than anything since World War II. Why doesn't this lightweight reporter say it was Obama who made it possible for Russia to steal Crimea from Ukraine without a shot being fired? It was also Lydia Peter who wrote an astonishingly fawning yet terribly written biography on Obama. It was a joke. Did Baker ever criticize the Obama Crimea giveaway? No, not once. Only Trump. And I had nothing to do with this stupid war other than early on when I gave Ukraine javelins and Obama gave them sheets. This is Sleepy Joe's war, not mine. It was a loser from day one. Should have never happened, would have happened were I president at the time. I'm just trying to clean up the mess left by Obama and Biden. And what a mess it is. All being said, there's no reason for Putin to be shooting missiles into civilian cities and towns over the last few days. It made me think maybe he doesn't want to stop the war. He just tapping me along and has to be dealt with differently through banking or secondary sanction. Too many people are dying. Well, the fact of the matter is, Trump is also now figuring out Zelensky doesn't want to play ball. He slams Zelensky for keeping the killing field going in Ukraine. Russia's hold on to Crimea is no surprise. It's a fact. No amount of wishful thinking will change it. Yet Zelensky insists on ignoring reality. Here we have more. Ukraine's worst days. Zelensky rejects Trump peace plan. Actually, Trump peace plan looked pretty good to me. Really, I'm rather fascinated. For the peace to move, of course, there's going to be compromise on both sides, which have their red lines. His peace plan has 6 key points. The first is that although Ukraine can become a member of the EU, it can never become a member of NATO. That's right. The second is U.S. will officially recognize Russian control of Crimea. European officials have confirmed Crimea will stay with Russia. The third, Ukraine will acknowledge a de facto Russian control of the territory it currently occupies, but without officially recognizing it. Vance has confirmed it would freeze a territorial line at a level close to where they are today. Ukraine would promise not to attempt to retake it while retaining the right to reacquire it diplomatically. The fourth, lifting of sanctions been imposed on Russia since 2014. Fifth, a security guarantee that would involve troops from European countries as well as separate non-NATO to help monitor a ceasefire along the demilitarized zone. That is the one that Russia is most likely to hesitate over. Finally, promising Ukraine compensation assistance for rebuilding. The third point, Ukraine will recognize de facto control only of the territory Russia controls militarily and not the entire territory annexed, represents a major concession by Putin, who offered to freeze the territorial boundaries along the current line to make a deal. The document doesn't mention limits on Ukrainian armed forces. Zelensky, on April 23rd, however, unambiguously rejected Trump's peace plan, which outraged Trump. The situation for Ukraine is dire. He can have peace or he can fight another 3 years before losing the whole country. Meanwhile, they had a meeting in the Vatican ahead of the funeral of Pope Francis. Keith, your thoughts?
Well, everyone's commenting on the sacrilege there, but if you notice, there's only 2 chairs. There was originally a third. Macron was told he didn't want to. Trump didn't want him there. But the point here, though, Jim, is the Czech Republic has delivered another 400,000 large caliber artillery shells to the Ukraine in 2025. The Defense Minister Jana Chernova, I guess it's called. This war is going to go on. Remember who Zelensky is. It's just like saying who Netanyahu is. This is, if you do some reading, it's called the Pale of Settlement. This is the old Khazarian ancient homelands. There was that leaked report that the Khazars, in fact, were Jews, or the Jews were in fact Khazars with a reverse migration plan to Ukraine. I think this is why Mr. Putin said when he told Bennett he wouldn't kill Zelensky like that, Bennett over in Israel. But I know there's a lot of talk here about the Shabbat and the Lubavitches and all the stuff like that. There may be some truth to this. But anyway, this is all done. And, of course, they're using Slavic Christian brothers to kill each other on a field for no gain whatsoever. Just like whether it's Iran or something like that, or the Muslims and Christians in Gaza and stuff, the United States doesn't care when they supply bombs or any of that stuff about what vintage or origin or ethnic background someone is, because right now the United States supplies 43% of the world's arms supplies. They can't stop that from coming because of Project 2025.
Please stand by, and we'll turn to Project 2024 right after this break.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Management would like to take a moment to thank the listeners and hosts for all their support that has made Revolution Radio one of the biggest platforms for free speech in an ever-growing dark world of censorship. Unfortunately, this platform for free speech has never been free. We need the support of the people. It is the people like you, yes, you, that keeps the station in the front lines of the battle against tyranny and oppression. Please help support Revolution Radio so free speech will not be silenced in a world that seems to be going deaf to the real truth. With your support, we will be able to become an even bigger pillar of light in a dark world.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the planet. Revolution Radio.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Jim is off goofing off somewhere. I'll wait for Jim to get back because I want him in tuned on this stuff here. He's probably out bleeding his lizard. Anyway, James and I are going to talk about Project 2025. It's if you have the ability to download and read that PDF, it's very, very long. There's a couple of key points that I'm going to bring out here. A lot of it is, well, people think that it's a great conservative thing. Again, though, it's listed as mandate. Mandate. Where does that come from before? But anyway. Come on, James. Get back to your computer. Maybe he's got to show his witness at his door. That's a joke. Where'd you go, James?
Keith, go right ahead. Start telling me about Project 25 while I pull up your stories. Go ahead.
All right, so sounds good there. Well, there's a couple key issues that I wanted to bring up here on Project 2025.
Right.
The most important one is one I found is after they ran this fake pandemic.
Yeah.
That they're trying to reinstitute in some way faith in the medical system again. And it goes on to explain that everything that was done was wrong. But what gets me is, I need to get up here where I can see with my bifocals, sorry. Where it says, this is what gets me. The Secretary must ensure that all human health services programs and activities are rooted in deep respect for innocent human life from day one until natural death. Abortion and euthanasia are not health care. Well, that sounds great. It's conservative. A robust respect for the sacred rights of conscience, both at HHSS and the...
An emergency room doctor has shared...
Go ahead. I was just pulling up.
Hang on to that video. That's the video here, so hang on, okay? So beneficiaries to further pluralisms and tolerance, the Secretary must protect American civil rights by ensuring that the HHS programs and activities follow the letter and spirit of religious freedom and conscience protection laws. And remember when Dershowitz came out there and says, you don't have constitutional rights to not get vaccinated and stuff like that, But anyway, radical actors inside and outside the government are promoting harmful identity politics, which replaces biological sex with subjective notions of gender identity. And anyway, like I say, this is the most important there because, like I say, as it goes on, it discusses the how do we get people to reevaluate, because I myself know myself because I had a botched surgery in 2017. I was going to get it fixed in 2019. They said, oh, well, the only way you can have the surgery is you got to get vaccinated. I said, no, I'm not getting vaccinated. Well, so whenever I call and I say, hey, I'm in pain. Well, we offered you the surgery. Anyway, so this video that you've got queued up here, you don't have to play all 6 minutes of it. But the point is, this is the fraud that they perpetrated on the American people. And there's more to this story after you play just a little bit of this video, okay?
Okay.
Video from the epicenter of the outbreak to show us what's really going on.
Hospitals are under siege.
All the patients in this room, all the feet that you see, they all have COVID.
The
video was shot by this emergency room doctor and sent to the New York Times to show the world what it's really like on the front lines of the crisis.
That's good, James.
That was enough.
Urgent.
That was enough. I'll tell you, I remember when this bullshit was going down at the time. And
Okay, well, yeah, think of the choreography to get this going, where all these actors, these people have committed treason against their own people.
Yeah.
They were paid for it royally, too, believe me. So anyway, this morning on Twitter, let me find my Twitter account here. God. I got so many damn tabs up, it's pathetic. It says, this is what gets me. Must reads, STDs in women are skyrocketing. Officials think racism and misogyny may be to blame. Do you realize what they've now I've already supplied the information from the NIH letter to Fauci, not from Fauci to NIH, but NIH to Fauci, which says, here's how we created the bioweapon. The first portion of it's HIV, okay? I've got the video from BBC where they automatically say that this is how we did the HIV spike protein. Why they killed the egg production like that, because eggs were blocking the intake of the HIV spike protein, right? So now you're getting all these STDs and stuff like that across the world like that, right? But what's going on in the world, though? Well, here, let's look at fertility in the UK. They say that able to maintain your so-called replacement level fertility, it must remain at 2.1%. UK has dropped to 1.5. In France, oh, by the way, the median age is about 40 to 42 years. This is what gets me. I don't. James, you're 84, I'm 64. We can recognize things that go back, but when you've got dumb, and I hate to say this, but when you've got dumb idiots that are younger than us that will not pay attention, just like when they announced yesterday that the UK was going to dim the sun, a video posted right next to it was thousands, and I'm not kidding, thousands of gay individuals over in the UK out there watching each other's ass boogie. This is how dumb, stupid down this entire planet has gotten. So anyway, fertility in France, same median age, dropped to 1.6 fertility, which needs 2.1. This is the reduction, see? And people just don't catch on because all this stuff is distractions. They've got us worried about blacks, Chinese, whatever like that. It's your own government. It's all part of this Project 2025. And if you go through all the different subtitles on the home bar, you'll see it's all mapped out. And as you said, Jim, Trump says he probably hasn't seen it. Well, it's a lot of pages. Like, say, you get down on page 450, 451, 452. Wow. You'll see what they're doing with the health and stuff like that. But like, say, when you read through this stuff like that, you'll find out that everything, and I mean everything, is being subsidized by the government. So when Janet Yellen told Senator Kennedy that the national debt is going to be $50-some trillion, you know where this is headed. And they're not helping out any of the people. It's all being to subsidize the big, huge corporations as their 70.1 million. No, is it? Yeah, 70.1 million mortgages are having issues. The money's going to the massive arms industry, wars overseas and stuff. And of course, they want these dumb young idiots out there like the YouTube commercials. Ads, sorry. I complained about this on Twitter, and YouTube actually answered me, where you're sitting there watching Nature's Quest or something like that, these beautiful scenes. A lot of them were World Heritage sites like that, which is what I like, beautiful outdoors. I live here in Montana, right? You look out the door, you see a bear by your truck, Yeah. But anyway, so they run these ads about men, or the women are speaking about their men's enlarged member of 8 inches, making her gush like a fire hydrant. And I thought, what the hell, on a nature channel? Little kids watch this stuff. So I complained to YouTube about it on Twitter, and I got a comment back that they're trying to remove these things. And then so I guess they do contact the ad thing like that. But haven't you noticed that everything anymore is sexual? And this is because they
Yeah.
want these STDs. They've destroyed your immune system like that from those that got vaccinated.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is how they're going to depopulate the planet.
Listen, this appears to be very much a Zionist propaganda op. You know, it's got a heavy Jewish component. The fellow is the head of the department at Duluth when I first came in as a full professor was Jewish, and we had an interesting conversation talking about the differences between Christianity and Judaism, and he was pointing out in Christianity there are a lot of restrictions on sex, but not on food, and in Judaism there are a lot of restrictions on food, but not on sex. And I think that's a part of the agenda to corrupt the culture, and it's going on massively and unabated. And even these deals I'm having with this Victor Hugo guy, he's constantly bringing up sexual issues that have nothing to do with my agenda or any other reasonable, decent, normal human being agenda, but it's part and parcel of what you're talking about here, Keith. Corrupting our culture at the core by attacking our most fundamental principles. This also has to do with all the transgenderism in the men and women's sports and the like. Is trying to generate massive gender confusion to corrupt our society. I have no doubt about it. You're making excellent points. Continue.
Okay, so Philip Girardi, former CIA, he writes an article there on the 26th, says, are you tired of hearing about anti-Semitism? Well, it's only the fact that, say that a rabbi owns Pornhub. Okay, that's fine. I have no problem with that. I don't know if God's chosen, that God would approve of that. But anyway, but when you see articles like, Ukraine gets Pornhub. Why in the hell would a soldier who's supposed to be fighting a war be worried about getting Pornhub?
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. This is an actual title. Soldiers in Ukraine now have access to Pornhub. What the hell is going on? You know? So anyway, again, if you go back to this Project 2025, just the main homepage of what you want to read and all this stuff. I mean, it is. I can't believe. Like, I want to get back up here to this.
Maybe it's here. Maybe, is it on BitChute here? You've sent me a number of.
No, I didn't say. I should send you the PDF. Anyway, it's called Mandate or Leadership: The Conservative Promise. But anyway, if you go down here and you start looking at the, let me scroll down here a little fast. It's this here is a complete takeover of the United States government. I'm not kidding. It's a complete takeover. And the main author of this Project 2025 is one of the top Trump team players there. But anyway, it goes on to talk about Section 1 is taking the reins in of government, which is the White House office. Executive office for the President of the United States are going to control that. The central personnel agencies managing the bureaucracy. It is a bureaucracy. The Department of Defense, the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of State, the intelligence community, media agencies. Why would the government be taking over the media agencies? The CIA has been doing that for a long time. The U.S. Agency for Global Media, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the Agency for International Development. That actually sounds like the CIA's election hacking thing. Anyway, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Education, Department of Energy and Related Commissions. But anyway, all this is subsidized by the United States government. Now, with these tariffs and stuff like that, already the farmers are feeling the heat from this, right? They can't sell their product or whatever like that. China drops so many tons of pork, dropping grain shipments of soy, whatever like that. You know, the farmers aren't getting bailed out, but instead, see, they got the Americans to fight with each other. So the Democrats are saying, see what happens when you voted for Trump? No, this is that new world government coming in, see? And they're subsidizing our own demise.
Yeah, but Trump appears to be part and parcel of it, Keith. That's what I'm becoming convinced of and what's driving me up the wall.
Well, Gregory Mannarino made a good comment this morning. He was on with another guy here. I forget his name there, but they were talking about finance. Anyway, how they're trying to deliberately crash the system like that. But Mannarino made a very good observation. When Trump is in his tutelage of all his supporters, stuff like that, his head is constantly looking left, constantly looking right, because he's looking at a teleprompter. But when you get him in front of an audience, like in an airplane, Trump screws up because he doesn't know what to say. Because these guys, just like Senator Richard Black said, when all these think tanks like the Brookings Institute, Council on Foreign Relations, and all these lawyers and stuff like that, the CFR, when they present all these thousands of page documents like that, you get idiots like Nancy Pelosi that says, well, we'll just have to pass it to see what's in it because they can't read it. It's too many thousands and it's all legal jargon. This is all written. We don't have a government. Remember what Ronald Reagan said. We, the people, control the government, not the government controls the people. You remember that back in the 80s, you know?
Sure.
Anyway, this has all been taken care of. Now they put out all these mandates and stuff like that. This isn't our government. We live under a corporatocracy. Or as the gal up there in Canada called it, the narco-terrorism.
Geez, I want more. Let me tell you, I was dealing with Robert David Steele, just a wonderful guy. We did a couple of memoranda for Donald Trump, one about Sandy Hook, one about 9/11. And he was explaining to the contributors and to me, Trump has a very limited attention span. If it's more than 2 or 3 pages and doesn't have photographs, he won't pay attention. So when we did these memoranda for Trump, all the contributors, all the contribution were brief. They were 2 or 3 pages and they had photographs. Now, when you're talking about this massive agenda 2025, Trump's not going to get through even a couple of pages. I mean, he's going to discard it. So when he say didn't know anything about it, maybe there's an ambiguity there. Maybe he doesn't know because he hasn't read the 400-plus page doc, which I think is a certainty. But he does know in the sense that he's got this agenda that is actually playing out the program articulated by Agenda 2025, and he may not know it by that name. So he can sincerely say he doesn't know about it when he's actually carrying it out.
It's 887
pages. Oh, more reason. Tell me again, what are the key points of Agenda 2025? Just reiterate.
Well, let me zip back. I want to go to the end here to find out what it was. But, by the way, if you look at the mandate for leadership, all these guys are from the Heritage Foundation. I mean, this is Equal Rights Institute. You know, these guys, no one in government actually wrote this. It's all private entrepreneurs that are writing this stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, like say, and this is, like I say, they may have their Zionist, whatever like that, you know. But anyway, this goes into, where did I stop the last time? Okay, this gets back now into the most important one now of this entire thing is on page 717. And I'll send you the PDF.
Yeah. Send me the PDF over the break, and I'll open
this one.
Yeah.
If you read this one on page 717, the Export-Import Bank should be abolished. What are they trying to do now? This is where they're talking about revaluing gold and stuff like that, you know. But again, though, if you read this particular thing here, this is where all these tariffs and stuff come in like that. But the government wants total control because the very next line or subject is the Federal Reserve, and then small business.
Well, what's it say about the Fed? What's it say about the Federal Reserve?
They are planning. Let me zoom this in again because I've read this over, but I can't remember it all. But anyway, money is the essential unit measure for the voluntary exchanges that constitute the market economy. Stable money allows people to work for retirement and ultimately provides for their economic growth. Problem is, though, there's no liquidity. Matter of fact, James, this morning I was watching this Spokane deal, which is about 160 some miles from me like that. It's a market outlook for the different housing and stuff throughout Spokane, Ritzville, all this stuff like that, all through Washington State there. Most of it is new homes, apartments and stuff going up around where? Military bases. This tells you what's coming. I'm sorry to say that, but, you know, I look at trends, you know. But anyway, so...
What about military bases? What about them?
All these new housing units and stuff, almost $3,000 a month for an apartment in some of these areas. You know, who can? My mortgage used to be $303 a month for a 4-bedroom apartment. I mean, a house that my dad built. Yeah. That my wife talked me into a stupid mortgage on before she left. But anyway, how anyone can pay almost $3,000 a month for a mortgage. Then you got your utilities going up. Loans, credit cards.
It's deliberately making ownership of property impossible, so you have to be dependent on government housing, right? That's the idea.
That's back to the subsidization. This is probably where they're going to start in the near future, roll out the universal basic income.
Yeah, they're trying to
because
make it
people won't be able to
impossible.
support themselves.
Yeah. Diabolical, isn't it, Keith? I mean, it's so sinister.
Yeah. And no one cares. It's because we're having all these distractions.
Yeah.
Like that one I told you about.
Well, even the wars are distractions, right?
Sure. Yeah, but the point is, though, is you tell James, you're a veteran. Anything that you did in the U.S. military in Vietnam and stuff like that, how has that lended to your freedom and democracy today? Well,
I'm not quite sure I get the question, Keith. I mean,
okay. Well, you went to Nam, right?
No, I was not in Nam. I was in 62 to 66. They put me at the recruit depot in San Diego to supervise DIs training recruits.
Oh, okay.
So I kept the DIs from killing the recruits. And it turned out Marines to go fight in Vietnam. And I had very mixed feelings about it in retrospect, because they put me up at regimental headquarters my second year there to revise the training program. So instead of putting out 8,000 recruits in 11 weeks, we were putting out 11,000 recruits in 8 weeks using the same facilities. And I was there to see it operate at peak efficiency.
Okay, well, great. Now, so when I look at you and all your internet shows and stuff like that, you've been fighting this entire government for how many years now?
Well, a few. I really got serious. I got serious about all this in 1992, and trashing and long story, but over 30 years. Yeah.
I was going to say, when I did a show with Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson back on Perception Management, I asked him, I says, do you know the real cost of the Iraq War? That's a 2.0. And he says, yeah, we lost 5,000 U.S. soldiers over there. And I said, but you omitted 1 million Iraqis that died. And he thought for a second, said, well, yeah, you're right. And I says, Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, I have a FOIA right here in front of me right now. And I read it to him. Yes, 5,000 were killed in action. However, 74,000 were the total dead. Oh, well, Mr. Wilkerson didn't hear that. Mr. Wilkerson also didn't take into account the 60,000 suicides, which continue to grow at, 22 a day or something like that. He also didn't hear about the VA that allowed 307,000 veterans of that war to die from no health care.
Yeah.
So now when you hear Jeffrey Sachs say that the entire Iraq War 2.0 was all Bibi, when he said that I guarantee that if you take out Saddam, okay, all this death of the Americans was caused by Bibi Netanyahu and his lies.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing we're seeing with Iran today, with the nukes in Iran.
Yeah.
I got an image somewhere on my hard drive, on my other hard drive, from 1983 of Benjamin Netanyahu saying that Iran is 3 days away from the bomb.
Oh, I know. It's absurd. It's just absurd.
Yeah.
And he said that over and over again. I mean, the greatest liar on the face of earth. Unbelievable.
Yeah, what gets me, though, James, is I raised 3 beautiful daughters. When you raise them from infancy, you change their diapers and you get them through school, middle school, all that stuff like that. You watch them going into high school and stuff like that. Okay, those are daughters. But if you had boys, how could you send your kid off to a damn war that has nothing to do with the United States and it promotes the non-Israelite? Because today's Jews over there in Israel are not Jewish.
Right. Well, they're not Hebrew. They're not Hebrew. Yeah, they're Jewish, but they're not Hebrew. They're not descendants of the tribe of Judah. They're from the Ukrainian area. They're Ashkenazi Jews.
And that's why this whole Ukrainian war with Russia is so important, and why Zelensky's there, why the paper says that Israel was supplying the neo-Nazis with arms.
Yeah.
Why is alleged Jews, why are Jews supplying Nazis with arms?
Yeah. Well, Ukraine is supposed to be the new Israel, right? I mean,
that's right.
Zelensky declared it on multiple occasions.
It's all there, yeah. So if you want to send your kid off to die after you went through all that to raise your child and stuff, all the happy memories, the sad times like that, whatever, like that, But anyway, if that's how you think of your own family, I have no remorse for you.
Yeah. It just drives me crazy. I mean, this is all so insidious and it's so cleverly plotted. It's like this attack on Iran. It's absolutely brilliant if you want to cripple Iran economically. I mean, it's been done. It's over. It's already happened. This is a catastrophe, absolute catastrophe.
Well, remember, though, James, is that Trump is trying to back out of Iran and Bibi was trying to push it into it.
Right. Well, never estimate Netanyahu. He is a sly devil. Some liken him to the devil himself. Well, that's a pretty close approximation.
He has no moral conscience whatsoever.
None whatsoever. No. Right. And he wants to use and abuse the United States for the benefit of Israel. He could give a rat's ass about killing American soldiers. A friend of mine says humorously, that's why the national anthem of Israel is "Onward, Christian Soldiers." Keith
doesn't care about bankrupting this country either, does he?
Keith, send me the PDF and I'll take a look at it.
Oh yeah, it's on its way to get on.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Was it a conspiracy? Did you know that the police in Boston were broadcasting "This is a drill, this is a drill" on bullhorns during the marathon? That the Boston Globe was tweeting that a demonstration bomb would be set off during the marathon for the benefit of bomb squad activities, and that one would be set off in 1 minute in front of the library, which happened as the Globe had announced. Peering through the smoke, you could see bodies with missing arms and legs, but there was no blood. The blood only showed up later and came out of a tube. They used amputee actors and a studio-quality smoke machine. Don't let yourself be played. Check out And Nobody Died in Boston Either. Available at moonrockbooks.com. That's moonrockbooks.com.
If you think for 1 second that the Capitol will ever treat us fairly, you are lying to yourselves. Because we know who they are and what they do. This is what they do, and we must fight back. You can torture us and bomb us. Fire is catching. And if we burn, you burn with us.
Good evening.
Are you awake yet? I hope. We've tried for years and years to use passive resistance and loud voices to make a change. The time is over. Your governments around the world have no other goal than to decimate your entire existence at the hands of the bankers and the elites. The war is coming, and it's your choice to decide if you want to be a warrior or a victim. Denial is not a choice anymore. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the planet. Not giving up. Revolution Radio.
It is no secret that the so-called mainstream media is best described as controlled propaganda. Countless news stories are either totally ignored or spun with half-truths, and because of this, essential facts and vital information are often compromised. Join Dr. Ott every Friday night on Studio B at 10 p.m. Eastern and learn why The Story Behind the Story was nominated for a Peabody Award in its second year of producing unparalleled broadcasting excellence in 1997. That is, if you really care about learning the truth.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Well, apparently James is gone again. What are we going to do with that man? I was going to pick on him, say he's probably a ham operator. That's where you get on shortwave and you tell all your friends about your aging prostate issues. By the way, I just celebrated my 48th year in ham radio.
Did you now? 48 years in ham, that's fantastic, Keith. I love it. Let me pull it up. I think you've...
I've talked to James. Hey, matter of fact, James, let me tell you a quick story here.
Yeah.
In 1979, I talked to a wonderful young Soviet boy. I asked him, I says, what is it like to be Russian? And he said to me, imagine anything that you're doing, I'm doing. And then he added with emphasis, anything again. And then he said, look, I want a wife, I want a home, I want children, I want a dog, I want a garden. He says, I'm probably just like you. However, because of your Cold War, my entire life has been put on hold and I'm in the military.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
he was just like me because today's Russia is Orthodox Christian.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a far more Christian and cohesive society than we have here in the U.S. today.
Yeah, I had a beautiful video, although I think some of this borders on idolatry, but there's a beautiful video of a new church that opened up over there in Russia. It's a huge cathedral. Here, they're burning churches. Does that tell you something?
Yeah, unbelievable. Okay, let me see if I can get all this in perspective. I got it, 2025, Mandate for Leadership, the Conservative Promise, Project 2025. I'm very glad you sent this, my friend. Let's see if we get to the table of contents. Keep talking about it,
yeah.
Keith. Tell us.
The one I was telling you about is located. Let me see if it's at. Did I go down again? Yeah, I did. Sorry.
Okay, here we go.
Let me get up here. It's the one on banking and stuff.
Okay. Taking the reins of government, central personnel agencies managing the bureaucracy.
Okay, here it is. It'd be page 717. The Import-Export Bank. Anyway, like I say, the more you read on this, you'll see what is actually going on.
So they have plans for each of the departments.
Yeah, but how many departments are? Was it 17 or something like it? 16 or 17 departments?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is big. So the Export-Import Bank of the United States, the EXIM, or the bank, is a federal agency that was established in 1934 to provide export subsidies through taxpayer-backed financing to private. Now, see, again, the taxpayers are paying these big corporations for their own demise. Meanwhile, these big corporations are causing their small businesses to be shut down. Just like when you read that during the alleged COVID pandemic, how many billionaires were made as those small businesses were shut down. But Amazon and those guys not only could stay open, but could deliver food, through UPS or whatever like that. This is a total ripoff. Anyway. So goes on and says, as well as to foreign companies buying U.S. exports with the ostensible purpose of promoting American exports, creating jobs. There has been no jobs created, supporting small businesses, improving U.S. competitiveness, and protecting the U.S. taxpayers from what? The corporations stealing our money, right? In 1986, David Stockman, who served as the director of the Office of Management and Budget under President Ronald Reagan, wrote that. And I'd like to ask Paul Craig Roberts for his ideas on this. The export subsidies and mercantilist illusion based on the ideological proposition that a nation can raise its employment and GNP by giving away its goods for less than what it costs to make them. Now, this is what, sadly, that China is starting to do there to keep their exports and stuff moving. However, those two maps that I showed you shows you that China is winning without even firing a shot. Anyway, so the export subsidies subtract from the GNP and jobs, not expand them. Moreover, in 1981, the EXIM's practice was to bestow about 2/3 of its subsidies on a handful of giant manufacturers, including Boeing aircraft. Stuff like, well, who's getting hit worse now with Boeing is Boeing. It's because of the tariffs on China. And now Trump comes out with this remark about China stealing our intellectual property like that. No, what it was is China for decades now has been underwriting all the manufacturing of U.S. products over there from where the U.S. corporations have sold out America, got rid of our high-paying union jobs, took our 40 hours a week away, our paid health care, paid overtime, sick leave, pregnancy leave, and a paid 2-week vacation. Now, that's all gone now, see? So now, after they've done this and sent us all these cheaper products and stuff that, Americans were working too much to pay their home bills, their credit cards, whatever like that, Now the tables have turned. And so with China, well, they're just making their own now. And they don't have to use the American brand name like that. And, of course, all you got to do on any of these patents is modify it a little bit and you can reproduce it. I mean, that's common. Anyway. So
nasty.
Yeah. China, it says. See, instead of coming to a trade agreement with the Chinese, albeit through labor or what like that, But James, the more you read down through this, you'll see that this is creating no jobs whatsoever. All it's doing is creating a massive trade between the U.S. big corporations who are giving the shaft to the little small businesses. And you can read that.
Yeah. So it's really an agenda. It's really an agenda for a corporatocracy.
Exactly.
It's really a recipe for fascism. I mean, that was a fascist recipe. Mussolini said fascism could equally well be described as corporatism because it's a merger of big business with big government, and that's what you got here. So this is a fascist agenda.
Let me jump down a couple paragraphs here.
Yeah.
Where it says EXIM, which is his banking system, has 4 main tools to which pursue these goals: loan guarantees, working capital guarantees, direct loans, and export credit insurance. That'd be like if you're shipping and stuff, right? Importantly, for 4 years starting at the end of 2015, the bank became incapacitated. Lacking a quorum of its own board of directors, it could not extend financing to exceed the $10 million per project. That put an end to about 85% of the bank's financing. Like I say, they killed our own businesses.
Well,
and
COVID.
Now they're whining about China.
David Icke was so brilliant to perceive COVID was intended to wipe out the small business and the middle class. I mean, he was all over it right off the bat, that it was to restore a feudal society. We got the rich ensconced in their castles, surrounded by moats, and the rest of us are toiling as slaves and serfs in the field. That there's no middle class, and it's all wiped out. He nailed it.
Yeah.
God, the damage. Anyway. And look how Trump was right in it, talking about shutting down business for a week or 2 weeks. I mean, it was insane. That was just the dumbest decision That was the dumbest decision any president has made in the history of the United States, right there.
Yeah, like I say though, James, if you go back up to that human health services thing like that, if you read on down, it'll say that everything, and I mean everything they did during COVID, killed the entire economy.
Yeah.
And they outline it. It says this should never happen again, ever.
Well, too effing late. I'm sorry to say it. It's already done. And the damage, I don't know. Keith, how can we ever recover from the damage of shutting down the economy? How do we do that? I don't think it's possible.
Well, I think, again, because, I've always used this analogy there, James. If I gave you a blue book with one page on the inside about how to solve the problem, if you presented that book to 330 million Americans, allegedly, more would sit there bitching about the color of the book, who printed it, whether it was Union printed it, or what kind of font they would never open the book. And that's our problem here. It's the division which is purposely caused so that Americans won't look at their own government.
Say that again. Explain what you're talking about. We won't become critical of our own government. All these.
Well, they won't look at their own government because, see, I listen to all these radio shows or internet shows.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to blame the Democrats and other ones want to blame the Republicans.
Yeah.
When none of them want to blame the entire government.
Yeah.
But see, there's the clause in here is because for a new world government, they want you to hate this government.
Yeah.
But in fact, instead of revamping it, trying to put your own people in, I've even thought about the only way to do this would be to all the people that really cared about this country should form an LLC. And then you're able to have a vote in your own government because as individuals, you don't.
Yeah.
But anyway, a lot of this is the money that's there could be there. Remember, all this money, James, is created from thin air. They just reach over and hit enter. That's all they do. It's not printed on a viable machine and stuff like that. There's so much money in hell, you've got people in Laos and Cambodia or down in Latin America that are handing dollars around. There's money everywhere like that. Problem is, it's not going to the people. And so they struggle. And that way you can say, well, look at that shithole country or something like that. It's caused by the U.S., see? And as long as you can point that finger again, look at them damn Mexicans or look at them damn Russians or the Mexicans or the VC or whatever, that's how they keep this whole thing going and divide it, see? But the point is, there is so much money in circulation. We're talking if the U.S. is in debt $37 trillion, they say it's 200 some trillion with commerce and stuff like that. Think of the money that's out there, but it's all digital, see? And that's why they want to rein in all this stuff with this digital banking system like that, because it'll control you through social credit scores, social comments, whatever like that, like say that article about this anti-Semitism. Are you tired about hearing about anti-Semitism? This is just a precluding type thing so that you can shut down all public debate. It's like the umbrella. You can take the umbrella out in rain or you can take it out in the sun to shield yourself. But they use these large and anti-Semitism terms, or it could be anything about the U.S. government that they suddenly slap this terrorism or some other term on you like that, to where they can shut down entire schools, deport you. As a matter of fact, even Gore Vidal, I think it's in his national security video like that. Yeah. He talks about it would come a time when the U.S. government would not only deport you, but deport you to a place that doesn't even have a government. And then he says, what luck, But, this is where it's headed. It's this corporate fascism because the corporations want to control everything.
Yeah.
All you do is boycott them out of business, whether it's Amazon or what like that. But see, people won't do it because, they get their packages through Amazon. They get their videos through Amazon. Because they're too entertained. you did a story here on your other show about the dropping of food stamp purchases for like candy bars and Coke and stuff like that, or whatever. Anyway, there was a story that came out of this because a gal, I think it was at a Walmart, had bought a whole bunch of cases of pop, and she went out to the parking lot and she opened them up and drained them all, and she was getting 10 cents a can as the rebate thing. And so she'd go back in there after destroying all that pop and get $16 worth of cash. That's why they destroyed that, because there's always some idiot American that doesn't like the rest of the people. Whether it was buying. I mean, there's people out there that have that need candy for sugar issues and stuff like that, to either raise or lower their blood.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are the types of people that cause the problems. Just like all those at that dancing video of all those alleged nurses and stuff that weren't taking care of the sick and the dying, but they had been choreographed into doing a performance that they did this well on the taxpayers' dollars, because they were all getting paid through the government in some way to run this swindle against the people.
Yeah.
They're all guilty. It should be all charged too, by the way.
Yeah.
Misprism of justice.
Food stamps. Seemed like a good idea at the time.
That's what I was telling you. I get tired of doing this. I'm just a realist. I don't make any money doing this stuff like that. I've been doing it for years like that, but when you sit here and you realize, is there any hope? And you hear some people, you have some good guests on every once in a while, those that are waking up. But the point is, when you have a corrupt judicial system, how do you fight these idiots?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking back in 1974 when Evel Knievel was going to jump the Snake River like that, and his parachute thing opened. All this stuff. It's like, oh, this stuff all sounds good. Like, these are all things that they use to keep you entertained. Bill Cooper says, well, you're at the football game or watching football like that. These elite that control the country, they're meeting in total secrecy, clear around the world. Or they cause, say, a London bombing. They cause a bombing so the entire world's attention is on that bombing, and they're up there in Switzerland or something like that, meeting in total privacy, meting out our demise, and he was right. Of course, he's dead. He was a truth teller.
Keith, how can we fix this situation we're in? It's deplorable. I think you've outlined it masterfully. Well, what can be done?
You need to bypass your senators and go to your governor, because the senators, we all know who they are. But if more people flood the governors, and I'm not saying just flood, I'm saying with all the evidence of all this fake COVID stuff like that, it's like basically saying, we're on to you guys. You were behind probably a genocide of the American people. You should, the guilt from that. I'm surprised you haven't committed suicide. That's what I would say, But anyway, but this is what happens. I mean, look at these soldiers. They go overseas and they do all this killing like that, and they come back like that. They're depressed on SSRIs, and what happens? They commit suicide. And let me say this about that, Jim. I was watching a MASH series of where Father McCahey was talking to a young soldier who refused to fight, and they had that whack job CIA come down and try to get him to fight again like that,
Right.
And Father McCahey had finally got to the point where he said he had his ticket punched. And I did some research on this, had his ticket punched. And I found out how the Pentagon trains its pastors, not the church, but the Pentagon. And I thought, well, this is interesting. So you get a boy who's lied to by his own government that you're out there fighting for God and country and stuff, and then the clergy lies to you.
Yeah.
That if you don't go back out and go, and these boys, they come to a crisis of conscience and they kill themselves. That was important. But see, the point is this goes back to that Forbes magazine with science. Do not do your own research when it comes to science. That's like telling a 16 or 19-year-old boy not to play themselves. Like, they're going to do it anyway, right? So when you tell people not to do something, well, I've always been inquisitive like that because I always figured, like, watching these old newsreels, how could you get an American boy go down there with a flamethrower 9,000 miles away to some Pacific island and burn the crap out of some Japanese boy?
Yeah.
In a war that the United States and UK had started by sanctions.
Yeah.
See? Or when they say that, the surprise attack at Pearl Harbor. There's no surprise. They broke the Imperial Japanese Code in 1939.
Right.
An Aussie code breaker,
right.
Captain Eric Nier. See?
Right.
All this stuff adds up like that. They knew it was coming. That's why they moved the flat-top carriers to the Midway Islands.
Yeah.
Yeah. My friend John, I love the guy dearly. He's moving over to Portland pretty soon. I feel sorry for him. But anyway, he told when Fukushima had their earthquake and then the subsequent reactor damage, I got an email from my friend John that says, good, this will take care of some of them sons of bitches that we missed during World War II. And I said, John, why are you so callous towards the Japanese? And he says, my grandfather died on the USS Arizona. And so that's when I sent him some information. I says, do you realize that Hawaii was illegally annexed, was a military outpost? It wasn't even a state until 1950. The United States was never attacked, just its outpost military was. Oh, well, I didn't know. But see, that's the same thing with Ukraine and stuff. All the war games the United States was doing in Ukraine and stuff, but with, especially in Crimea and stuff, where the Crimeans said, hey, get out of here. They actually chased them out, see? This is the U.S. encroaching on someone else's property, just like it's in the Middle East. And, of course, in this case, over in Ukraine, it's all for the benefit of our kosher friends again,
Yeah.
But if people want to live the lie and die a lie, that's fine with me. I don't.
But Keith, give me some idea how we get the hell out of this fix. How do we do it?
I think the only way to do it is contact your governor and then without any names, calling, stuff like that, these weekend things about we know that COVID was a fake billboard, people just walking down the street, as long as you're not standing or something like, where they can try to push some vagrancy law and stuff like that, But you can have something on a billboard that highlights how they fraudulently did this or fraudulently did whatever like that, the numbers, the new sexually transmitted diseases, like that blow up of that page 2264, I think it is, of the Fauci emails that anyone can download and like I did, and get blown up and have that put on a billboard about how the United States government, not China, was the ones that created this bioweapon, which it clearly says is a bioweapon like that. Walk around little sandwich boards like that.
You're talking about informing the people Yep, but what actions need to be taken, given the information? What actions need to be taken to set things right?
I think the more the people wake up to the biggest fraud, especially for those that say they're sitting there and they read something, they go, what the hell? And then they start realizing, I lost my small business because of this. I think the anger itself will do the work. It's like a tempest that grows, especially if you lost loved ones. Like the video of AOC, where she's down there in New York with Charles Schumer there, Chucky Schumer there, and she says, anyone that has lost anyone during this COVID pandemic, if you go down and have your medical examiner change the cause of death to COVID, FEMA will give you $8,500. That is a misprism of justice. It's also a felony per count to change the cause of death on a just like you would know that. James, look at the school shootings.
Yeah.
But to illegally change the cause of death, I have videos of all these city councils across Texas and stuff, where they're saying, we'll just list any death as COVID. Remember the guy that got hit on a motorcycle like that, killed on a motorcycle? They listed his death as COVID.
I know. I reported this. I reported this ad nauseum. I must have done 200, 300 shows about all this COVID bullshit. It's absolutely outrageous, Keith. Just stunning.
Yeah, they want you to trust them again with your health care because the healthcare industry is now losing.
Yeah. Keith, we're about to hit the break. I'm going to invite, callers, but I want you to I want you to keep filling us in. I mean, and there are good reasons why you're so popular. And of course, they're all manifest here today. I just can't believe we're in such a catastrophic situation. And you believe, is Trump the guy to get us out of this fix, or is he going to make it worse?
I think Trump is trying to, but I think he's got some evil forces with him, and they're in his own cabinet. This is how they work, the deep state. Matter of fact, this is common, even if you listen to Senator Black. They had CIA over in Syria shooting U.S. forces to cause the deaths so that they could call, same thing in Iraq, so they could call for a new buildup of troops and stuff like that, saying U.S. forces get it. But this is a senator. You've got to realize, though, or colonel, you got to realize these guys all know what's going on, but they're afraid to say it.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Management would like to take a moment to thank the listeners and hosts for all their support that has made Revolution Radio one of the biggest platforms for free speech in an ever-growing dark world of censorship. Unfortunately, this platform for free speech has never been free. We need the support of the people. It is the people like you, yes, you, that keeps the station in the front lines of the battle against tyranny and oppression. Please help support Revolution Radio so free speech will not be silenced in a world that seems to be going deaf to the real truth. With your support, we will be able to become an even bigger pillar of light in a dark world.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the planet. Revolution Radio.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
Even the government admits that 9/11 was a conspiracy. But did you know that it was an inside job? That Osama had nothing to do with it? That the Twin Towers were blown apart by a sophisticated arrangement of mini or micro nukes? That Building 7 collapsed 7 hours later because of explosives planted in the building? Barry Jennings was there. He heard them go off and felt himself stepping over dead people. The U.S. Geological Survey conducted studies of dust gathered from 35 locations in Lower Manhattan and found elements that would not have been there had this not been a nuclear event. Ironically, that means the government's own evidence contradicts the government's official position. 9/11 was brought to us compliments of the CIA, the neocons in the Department of Defense, and the Mossad. Don't let yourself be played. Read America Nuked on 9/11. Available at moonrockbooks.com. That's moonrockbooks.com.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Brian Drury here. The number is 608-957-8727. I repeat, 608-957-8727. Brian, go ahead. Join the conversation.
Well, all of this, I go back to that article Henry Makow had, the dinner that Otto Kahn, who was one of the primary people that owned Kuhn Loeb or whatever with Schiff and Warburg, okay? I mean, you're talking that back then, the dark of the dark, I mean, the Rothschilds and all them they were part of that, and he had dinner with that ambassador from France to England. His last name was Auxlier, and this ambassador was saying to him, I don't understand how you bankers fund both communism and capitalism. And at the dinner, Otto Kahn said, look, communism is where the government controls the means of production, the corporations, and in capitalism, it's the corporations that control the government. One is objective, one is subjective. We control both sides, and we're in the middle. We're the fulcrum in the middle, and we control everything. And that's what he said. And it's when I think about that little dialogue, I mean, it's just so true. They control Trump. Okay, Trump doesn't work for us at all. He works for them. And they did, I'm sure, they did some rituals with him to ensure that he was totally in their camp. That was part of him getting shot in the ear. Okay. And you remember, Jim, me talking about Jews backwards. They showed me a lot more stuff with that. And I'm getting so much information from them these days. And, they don't come from me. It comes from when I download from my higher chakra. But I can tell you Trump is thoroughly in their camp. And unfortunately. So that's what I have to say.
Keith, you want to comment? We do have a second caller standing by. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just briefly want to say the difference between Stasi and the Soviet boy Pavlik. Remember the Soviet boy Pavlik, he turned his own family in and basically was killed by his own family. And the commies, they built a huge statue to him. And this is what I see with our 911 system and like that. The alert level stuff, they have to keep people in constant fear. And so everyone's snitching on themselves, which keeps the system going. But the point is they don't realize this. And I just want to quickly say this. Like when they point to China's fentanyl, they omitted the Sackler family killing over 1 million people. But they also omitted the billions of dollars to the DEA, DHS, FBI, all these guys that are supposed to be working the border, Border Patrol, all these guys that allow this stuff in, like the article there from Fox News that says that the DHS cut deals with the Sinaloa drug cartel, which allowed products in, okay? So all this stuff is all mapped out. They allow it to happen like that, and we, the people, are always the sufferers.
Let me bring in 501. Join the conversation. Area code 501.
Good afternoon. This is Gabriel from Arkansas.
Welcome, Gabriel. Go for it.
Okay. Well, Project 2025, and I also think about how it relates to Bill Gates and his plans. But I noticed that the drones that were being used illegally, they were flying around and we weren't shooting them down, and we were just letting them fly around and acting like we didn't know what they were. Now, we know that those drones come out of three companies, Lockheed, RTX, I believe it is. It used to be called Raytheon, and then Northrop. And they're equipped with AI equipment. That equipment can be used to monitor and track people. This is the reason why they weren't shot down and they were flying around. But I was just wondering, Professor, what you and your other, Keith, or the other gentleman may think about that tying into Bill Gates' plan with the whole 5G cryptocurrency system and the smart cities and stuff like that.
Keith, you want to pick up on that?
Yeah, when I first heard this story, I thought of mapping. And I'll go back to this because I was watching a video, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago like that. It was over in Germany, and it was this farmer who was out on his tractor, but off to the side of him was this big drone that was carrying this petrochemical like that, which was doing his fields, fertilizing the fields. And I thought to myself, whoa. I says, that could be so nefarious like that. You could fly something like that over a major city and cause some massive damage with some biotoxin like that, So, but anyway, so when I saw all this, and then you listen to the government basically saying it's a stand down, don't worry about it, stuff like that. So to me, it was nothing nefarious. It's just the government doing some project that they were up to, whether they were mapping certain areas or planning for certain areas. For a false flag or something like that, because I don't trust anyone. I'm sorry. Like I've highlighted here before for the guy in Arkansas there, that if you've got people dancing in damn hospitals and stuff to promote a fake agenda of a fake virus and are willing to sell out their own people like that, I don't trust anyone.
Well, those were actors. Those were actors to...
we have to assume that.
Well, they were. We know that. I mean, this is all. Keith, I can't tell you how much I went through all this heavy horse shit years and years ago when it was taking place. It was phony. It was fake actors, fake nurses. Jason Goodman went down to the hospital right there. I think it was in Brooklyn. That was supposed to be the center of the pandemic, stacked with so many bodies and patients that they didn't have room for them all. He found the place was empty. He walked in, looked around to his
they had filled my hospital. On Twitter. And
it was all ridiculous. Goddamn ridiculous. Right, Brian, go ahead and chime in on Gabriel's thoughts.
Well, Gabriel asked the other day about more remote viewing, and just real quick, I had a dispute with a partner, and I was sleeping one night, and suddenly I started astro traveling and remote viewed him in the parking lot of my condominium, watched him throw a rock on my windshield and pour something in my gas tank. And I woke up and I thought that was a weird dream last night. I went outside, went to my van, found someone had thrown a rock on my windshield and poured Pepto-Bismol down the gas tank. So
really?
I just wanted, absolutely. It was a pain.
Weird.
Yeah. So that was just, remote viewing where I saw the results the next day. So anyway.
Gabriel, no doubt, Bill Gates is one of the monster bad guys of our time. He was promoting pandemics as a greater threat than nuclear war for years worldwide before the pandemic. He was laying the groundwork, predicting programming, all that. As far as the 15-minute cities, it's absurd. What they're doing is trying to make you think that an outdoor prison camp is in your benefit and best interest, when it's anything but. I mean, it's a new ingenious way to control populations by making them think and using the word smart. See, it's supposed to be smart to imprison yourself in a 15-minute city. That's grotesque. It's colossally stupid. It isn't smart at all. It just benefits the wardens who are running the whole shop. Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, Moscow has them too.
I don't get it.
That's why you have to wonder if this Ukraine war is just all theater and stuff like that. Although people are getting killed, I agree.
Yeah.
But generally, they're Orthodox Christians and all those. Matter of fact, I'm sorry I didn't download a thing like that. I have to scroll back to find out which channel it was on Telegram. But they had a list of all the soldiers who have died and what their ethnic origin is, United States, stuff like that. We're talking a lot of people have died as paramilitary.
Are you talking about Ukraine especially?
Well, in Ukraine, yes, but that have been killed by Russia.
Yeah,
I probably witnessed at least 17 U.S.
Well, it's over a million.
Blown off.
Over a million dead on the Ukrainian side. 17 is trivial. That's a drop in the bucket. Gabriel, go ahead. Give us more, Gabriel.
This was in the Kursk region.
I was listening to your news as best I could, and I was working, but I didn't hear you go over the, if you shoot across the country, there's a big case right now where they have the Long Island serial killer, Rex Heuermann. But now, within the last 6 weeks, they found 8 bodies there in Connecticut and I think 1 or 2 in Massachusetts. But 4 of them were along the coast there, right across from Long Island. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that for a few minutes, but it's
just a serial. We're talking about a serial killer.
Well, yeah, Rex Heuermann was the one they caught.
Keith,
so far they caught Rex Heuermann. I'll let Keith talk. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's like saying Jeffrey Dahmer was a nice guy because he had people over for dinner. What about when the U.S. is giving Israel 2,000-pound bombs to drop on schools? This is all of a diversion.
Yeah.
All of it.
Brian departed for reasons unknown. Keep going.
Yeah.
Gabriel, I mean,
James, we grew up with Clint Eastwood, Magnum Force, all these westerns. Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
Death Wish 3, Death Wish.
Right.
Where were all the school shootings? Wasn't happening. It's these video games that they've got these kids playing for hours on end, where they can pick the damn thing, they can pick their damn blood splatter and all that. That's why you have school shootings. Plus the
wait a minute, Keith. These school shootings are fake, man. Don't get carried away.
That.
They're FEMA drills. They're effing FEMA drills. Huh?
It's the SSRIs. Transitioning drugs, stuff like that. Depression drugs, because you don't fit in.
They're not real. They're one in a dozen, maybe an actual shooting. We actually had one here in Madison that I think was a real shooting. But I mean, as far as Sandy Hook, Parkland, Orlando, Boston bombing, these are all fake stage events. Every single one. I've even published books about them, Keith. What happens? Amazon bans the books because they don't want the public to know they're being subjected with a flood of bullshit.
Yeah, you remember that website, SSR Stories, SSRIstories.com?
No, I don't know.
All these shooters, what kind of drugs they were on and stuff like that. That's your problem right there.
No. It's the other way around. They're using the shootings to promote these drugs, claiming they're going to be beneficial to the kids and stuff like that. I mean, that's why Big Pharma has this.
No, it's the opposite.
That's why Big Pharma.
You need to sedate your children.
Yeah, ridiculous, bad.
Yeah.
I shouldn't sedate them. You shouldn't vax them. Kids who are unvaxxed are living happier, healthier, and far more intelligent lives. Let's get Gabriel back in. Go ahead, Gabriel. Give us more thoughts.
Well, the police are implicated in all of this, and that part is being covered up. You see the case, the guy, Rex Heuermann, that got arrested already for all those murders in Long Island. What brought attention to him in those cases was the murder of Shannan Gilbert. Now that one, the one that brought it all to light, was police were involved in it. See, Rex Heuermann, this guy Rex Heuermann, it looks like he's involved in a small group of people who were killing women, like a small group of professionals. It wasn't just one killer; there were several others, but the other ones were involved were police law enforcement officers, and that part's what's getting covered up. And so that's why
were these rape murders to cover up rapes?
Yes, and that's why even though Rex Heuermann's locked up, they're continuing, and some of them are on the shoreline, just like the Long Island one. And that's why just this past week they identified another one of the bodies from all the years.
How many have there been so far?
Like 8 or so on Long Island, and they identified Peaches and her baby this past week. Now, Peaches was a military veteran, it turns out. So they're looking at all the bases that she ever lived at and trying to find out information through her military career to figure out who killed her. But if you look at the Vergata case, there was a witness of the Vergata case that dated a police officer that she attended a lot of swinger clubs with, and the swinger club was known to be frequented by a lot of cops. But that particular cop in the Vergata case, he was trafficking Vergata, according to this witness. So, and then if you look at the Shannan Gilbert case, the case in Long Island that brought all this to light, that's the case that's still getting covered up and they're not talking about or investigating, the Shannan Gilbert case, Peter Hackett, according to Brewer, I read Brewer's deposition, according to Brewer, who was a suspect in that case, he was the house who Shannan was visiting the night that she ended up disappearing and ended up dead. Well, according to Brewer, Hackett identified himself as working for the police department. So again, I just don't know if any of your other people on
Gabriel, this is mildly interesting because it's organized, systematic, and involved police, but it's not something I would normally cover. I mean, I think it's worth a mention. I will add a story about it when I run across one, and I guess I'm glad you brought it up. But it's, not quite on the level of war with Ukraine or, Iran being attacked and so forth. I'm just a little curious. Do you figure out what is the MO they're using? How did they identify the women that they were going to target for rape and murder?
They're getting them off of. They were getting them off of Craigslist and online, and that's why they stopped the Craigslist dating. They canceled that. They don't have that available anymore.
Oh, really? Really?
It looks like what they're doing is they're getting sex workers, young female sex workers, and then they're trafficking them. And then what's happening is because these are professional, prestigious people who are involved, for example, the chief of police and the attorney general was involved in these cases. And it looks like because they don't want to get in trouble, they're killing the girls.
I get it. This is a bigger story. I'm glad you brought it up. It was something like that with JonBenét Ramsey. They were actually having sex sessions with her according to my source, who I think has done the most research on it. The people in the judicial chain of command were having sex with JonBenét, and this one night they had too many. I think she was used to 3 or 4, and they had, 5 or 6. Anyway, she went to bed, as far as I can tell, and her mother hit her with a flashlight because she was so pissed off about it and inadvertently killed her, and then wrapped her up and very carefully and drew a heart in her palm. Once you knew that, how carefully she was wrapped in the heart in the palm of her hand, you knew it was her mother, Patsy. I mean, the whole idea they covered it up is outrageous. Now you're giving me another case where it looks like there's a huge amount of evidence. Maybe they're not going to be able to cover it up in this case as well, Gabriel. I'm glad you brought it up. Keith, your thoughts?
Well, again, I always look at something about how is it being used to change domestic policy. That's the first thing, because remember the Greensboro massacre where you had the FBI, CIA, local police, the KKK, and the Nazis that were killing union leaders in broad daylight. And this has been going on for years like that. So, right now there's images coming out of Yemen there that the United States, as it says, American bombs, American personnel, Americans all on this. They hit a prison over there, and they killed everyone in the prison.
God!
Again, these are distraction stories that we hear domestically. I'm curious about, because whatever's happening foreign-wise, this is what's going to be coming back home.
Yeah, how can Trump be so blatant in violation of the law by sending troops into combat without consulting Congress? I mean, he's got to conduct foreign policy with the advice and consent of the Senate. And he's just going ahead doing this. It's a gross breach of his oath of office, and I regard this as an impeachable offense, just as I do cracking down on the colleges and universities because they're not suppressing those who are criticizing Israel. That's just outrageous. Makes me wretch. Your thoughts, Keith?
Well, these are just more continued war crimes. I mean, if you saw this video, this is horrible like that. But again, this is Yemen, who is trying to stop a genocide, and the United States who's trying to facilitate one.
Right. Gabriel, your thoughts about Yemen?
Well, I agree with everything you're saying. All I can add is that this past week, we sent a whole bunch of military equipment and stuff like that, vehicles, to our base in the Philippines, which is not far from. That was looked at as possibly for defensive reasons because of someone that we're going to attack, or for a possible offensive.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a provocative act. And when you got the Secretary of Defense saying we're preparing for war with China, how stupid is that? That is just a opposite of diplomacy. Trump seems eager to skip diplomacy and just go right to war. I mean, he's like a bully on the block, except he's astride the world stage. Keith?
Well, the Philippines, as you know, that is the underbelly to China, just like Taiwan is the underbelly to China. This is them pushing forward with their world agenda that the United States, under that Project 2025, is going to control all commerce globally, and they're going to finance it through $50-some trillion worth of damage, and they're going to say, screw the American people like that, or they're going to leave tens of millions of us homeless. We can't afford their mortgages, utility bills, all this stuff that's all going to go up by these same corporations, by the way. So I don't know what to tell you like that. You'd think that when there's a term, I can't remember what the actual Latin or whatever it is like that, but when you're speeding to the wall and you see the end coming, it gets faster and faster. And that's what our empire is right now. And I hate to say our because I hate pluralisms. Just like when they say when we bombed Iraq, I didn't bomb anyone. Or when they says we sent our arms to that, I didn't send any arms there. I have no knowledge of it whatsoever. I'm not taking part in these war crimes, But anyway, this is the problem that we're faced today with, is we have a rogue government that does whatever it wants on behalf of corporations and or Israel and its banking system like that. And we, the little guy, have no say whatsoever, and we'll continue to fold. We'll lose our homes, our cars, whatever like that. Everything we ever worked for just to support these corporations that are behind all this.
I think you've given us a very sobering assessment. Gabriel, give us a final thought or two.
Just that it's crazy, this whole attack on Islam and the Muslims and stuff. You remember Billy Graham?
Sure.
He was amazing. Rest in peace, Billy Graham. He had on YouTube, I was watching, it's called Islam vs. Superpowers by Billy Graham. It's on the Divine Grace YouTube channel. But Billy Graham's talking about how the God of of Islam, it's the same God. The God of Judaism, the God of Christianity, and the God of Islam is the same God. And how when Muhammad defeated the Persians and the Byzantines, we were fed a false history. Those were at that point in time, they had become tyrannical, and basically God blessed Muhammad and allowed them to, because they had faith, they overcame the odds and defeated the Persians and the Byzantines.
Just like
that's all I
the
wanted to know.
Good.
Yeah, if you
Good stuff, Gabriel. Yeah, Keith, go ahead. Give us a final thought of yours.
If you look at jihad, it's kind of like an inner peace. It's not some massive thing that you go out and you start killing people and stuff. It's an inner peace. That's why when you watch these Palestinians even dying on camera, the first thing they do is they pray to their God, and then they tell their mother, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So touching. So moving. It's so awful. Gabriel, glad you called in. If you want to add one more thought, please go right ahead and do that.
Just have a great day. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks. I wouldn't be surprised if I hear you on RBN later today. Keith, you are just spectacular. I'm just so pleased to have you on today. Give us your final thoughts. Quickly. Hey. Step.